So I was thinking, there's a lot of cards on here that we're never gonna see again. We're never gonna see Shotmaster again. Like, I honestly think as for as long as this game lives, that might be 10 years, that might be 20 years down the line. For as long as Yu-Gi-Oh exists, we're never ever going to see Shotmaster come off the ban list. We are never ever going to see Victory Dragon come off the ban list. Like, there's just so many things on here that we're just never going to see come off the ban list. So, I was thinking, we discussed this a little bit on stream. For anyone who doesn't follow me on stream, please do follow me on stream, twitch.tv/GlasgowYGO. Very entertaining person, I'm very funny, I need attention. But anyway, the reason that a lot of cards won't come back is because they're just too broken, right? Like, Judgment is probably one. Like, Solemn Judgment will just never come back. Spellbook of Judgment will never come back. Yeah, like, basically, you know what I'm saying, right? So many cards are just disgustingly broken and too powerful to ever see the light of day ever again. And that's quite sad. Now, what can we do to fix that? Well, actually, before I get into that topic, there's also a lot of cards that are that should be on the ban list depending on the format. It's like, sometimes cards are broken, sometimes they aren't. Like, Exciton Knight, right? Exciton Knight is an inherently really strong card. I'm not saying Exciton would ever be bad. Exciton is a card that is generic, that is going to be amazing, like, for as long as, like, we know. Like, there will never be a format where Exciton Knight won't be, like, at least staple in a level 4 deck. Do you know what I mean? Like, it will always be staple in a level 4 deck. Exciton Knight is currently banned because in this format, Exciton Knight would probably be a little bit overpowered. During Necros format, however, with like Shadows, Necros, Burning Abyss, Exciton Knight wasn't that much of a blowout. It was against Klee, I'll say that. But if you just compare it, right? If you compare Exciton Knight to how it would have been against Pepe, right? Exciton Knight would be pretty broken against full power Pepe. Not that that's probably a bad thing, honestly. But you might not agree with what I'm saying, but the actual semantics of what I'm saying, I don't want you to, like, argue with. I'm not saying, like, please don't start commenting saying, like, oh, what are you talking about, Exciton Knight is broken and stuff. The point I'm trying to get at is that Exciton Knight is good in some cases and broken in some formats. There's going to be formats where Exciton Knight is amazing and Exciton Knight isn't going to be that great. Well, I mean, Exciton Knight is inherently strong, so it's always going to be good, right? But at worst, Exciton will be good. But at best, Exciton is going to be nuts and insanely broken. So, because of the fact that it's going to be so amazing in some formats, it's important to understand that the ban list is going to fluctuate depending on the format. Like BLS, for example, right? That's probably a better example. It was brought up on stream as well. Blacklisted Soldier is generally going to be quite awful in some formats, right? But, like, other formats, like BLS is going to be broken. Like when when Lightsworn Rulers were a deck, BLS was an amazing card. That probably shouldn't even been allowed to be played back when Lightsworn Rulers were floating around. Not that the deck was, like, particularly amazing or anything, but I'm just saying, like, BLS in general is, like, it's unsearchable one-off sack card. But there's other formats, like, I don't know, like, potentially, like, now, like, would BLS really do anything at, like, 2? Maybe it would steal games. Like, that's kind of why BLS is, like, kind of broken. But the point I'm getting at, there's going to be formats where cards are good and cards are exceptional. So I feel like the ban list shouldn't be there to, like, put cards on because, like Super Poly, for example. Super Poly is, like, terrible right now. Like, you could have 3 Super Poly currently, and it wouldn't do anything. Like, what exactly, like, deck is going to use Super Poly right now? Like, Heroes, like, at a stretch, right? But Super Poly is a very, very good example of what I want to talk about today. Super Poly, I feel like could come back if they errated. Almost every single card in this, like, page would be errated, and not, like, extensive erratas. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's a good example? Like Sinister Serpent, right? That card is like a shadow of its former self, right? It's so terrible now. Like, no one plays it. No one would ever think of playing it. So, like, the idea is that because Konami would errata something, it would become a shadow of its former self. That's not what we're trying to go for. Like, imagine if they errated cards in such a way that, like, it would just balance them. Like Heavy Storm, for example, we're never going to see that card again. Like it's just never going to come back into the game, you know. So what if they errated Heavy Storm to say something like you can't conduct your battle phase this turn? Like just imagine that. Like do you guys think that maybe that would be a fair like errata? I think it would. I think that not being able to conduct your battle phase that turn would be good. It's like not as overpowered as Exton Knight because like Exton Knight is going to be vulnerable to traps in the first place. But it clears the whole field, and you know this is a format where you make a big field and hope you win the next turn. Or another suggestion: what if Heavy Storm destroyed up to a maximum of like 3 spell or traps, or maybe like 2, so it's like a +1 at best. Like I know that people are probably thinking like, oh, but that's going to like remove the spirit of the card. You know, it's not going to be the same anymore, and it's like. Yeah, okay, that's true. Heavy Storm will never be the same again. It's gonna lose its nostalgia potentially, but then it's like, why are they like what? We're just not gonna see it again. Do you know what I mean? Now, of course, you could just argue like, well, Konami could just design new cards. You know, like Twin Twister is kind of the evolution of MST. You know, so MST is just 1-for-1 pop a card. You know, and then Twin Twister is that sort of natural evolution power creep forwards where let's pop 2 cards, but it's now a 2-for-2 rather than a 1-for-1. Arguably, Twin Twister is better depending on your deck if you can afford the cost, because some decks rely on the graveyard, for example. Like Twin Twister would be amazing in something like Burning Abyss, for example, because discard Graph, pop 2 spells, get a guy out, etc, etc. But the point is, right, a lot of these cards would be fixed with like simple erratas. Like Bryanak is on here because of stupid loops, right? What if Konami errated Bryanak to be once per turn? What if Konami errated Spellbook of Judgment to okay, there's some cards that cannot be fixed, okay? Like there's no way to fix some cards, right? I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about Spellbook of Judgment. I don't know how they would fix that card and make it fair. But like, I don't know. I mean, we need to find something really, really broken, like Shockmaster. Like, let's say Shockmaster was like once per duel, maybe. Just imagine Shockmaster was once per duel. Do you think then maybe Shockmaster could come back if they errated it? If they errated it to say that, potentially, if it was a slow enough format where OTKs weren't a thing, so you couldn't just like, Shockmaster call like spells if they're playing like Pendulum or something, and then next turn you just OTK them, because once per tool doesn't make a difference in that situation. Do you know what I mean? But if it was a slow format where putting 3 monsters on the field was hard and difficult and challenging, and you were not guaranteed at all to kill them next turn, Shockmaster could work as in once per duel, maybe. I don't know. Like Hornet and Dragonfly for Inzectors, right? If they made Hornet could probably be okay, like popping multiple times, but if they made Dragonfly once per turn, right? And only once that turn. If they errated Dragonfly to say that, do you guys not think that card would be fair? Infernity Archfiend is a great example. Imagine Infernity Archfiend said once per turn. Do you guys not think that Infernity Archfiend would be fair? So yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say today, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this. Do you think erratas would be a suitable way to fix cards? Do you think Konami should fix cards with erratas? Or do you think Konami should just leave it as it is and like ban all these broken stuff like Dimension Fusion, Future Fusion, never bring them back, Spellbook of Judgment, never bring it back, keep it away, never ever touch it again, just let it rot in the grave, and Konami can just design new cards, like Stratos, for example, is a good example. Like, we're never seeing Stratos again, but, we have Shadow Mist, which is kind of Konami's, like, if you really think about it, Shadow Mist is sort of an errata of Stratos. Like, that's kind of what they tried to do there. You know what I mean? Like, it does what Stratos sort of does. It's not really the same card, but you can imagine, like that's kind of what maybe their line of thinking was. So maybe that's the correct way to go. Like, do you think they should have errated Stratos, or do you think making Shadow Mist was fine? Like, that's kind of actually a better way, because rather than butchering the whole old card nostalgia thing, ruined my past and childhood memories or whatever, Konami just makes a new card that sort of does what the old card did in like its new kind of form. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think Konami should errata cards and bring them back potentially, like the example I gave with like Shockmaster? like Heavy Storm, for example, whatever. Or do you think Konami should just, like I said, just let cards rot and just make new cards that are sort of similar, but obviously way less powerful, etc., etc. So, yeah, this has been a ban list discussion video, and comment, like, subscribe as usual, guys. Thanks for watching if you've watched this far. As always with my long discussions, I like to say a little hashtag. So let's go for hashtag hashtag. Let's go for hashtag symbols. So if you've watched this far, leave a hashtag symbols down in the comment section down below, and I'll know that you've watched this far and you've watched the full video. So I really appreciate when you guys do that. But yeah, thanks a lot as usual, and have a great weekend for everyone at Prague. Have good luck, etc., etc. I've said goodbye about 4 times now, so I'm just gonna end the video abruptly. So foolish.